If you saw this man at your corner drugstore or in a juke joint, would you be able to tell what he does for a living? Is he a saxophone player, a clerk in a shoe store, a lifeguard from Atlantic City? What would you say if he turned to you and asked,
"What's my line?"
Yes, here's television's newest game, a challenge to you to spot people from all occupations as they come before the close-up of our camera. You will have a chance to match your observation skills with our panel of experts for the next half hour as we invite you to play What's My Line? And now, let's meet our lineup of well-known personalities whose lines you probably already know. First, the distinguished neuropsychiatrist, Dr. Richard Hoffman.
And beside me sits that happy marriage of beauty and brains, Arlene Francis.
And here is my favorite poet and editor, Louis Untermeyer.
And here is my favorite girl about town, Dorothy Kilgallen.
And for the evening, the distinguished commentator, Mr. John Daly.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line? Once again, you will see people from many varied and perhaps unexpected lines of work and occupations who are all here to baffle our panel of experts to the happy end that they may take home some prize money. We'll also have a famous guest challenger before our panel a little later on in the show, but now to get things rolling, it's time for the experts to meet our first challenger whose line they will have to spot. All right, will you sign in, please, sir? Cormac McGowan. Well, thank you, Mr. McGowan. That's quite a bold hand that you have there. Will you tell us where you live?
The Bronx, New York.
In the Bronx in New York. Well, there's the panel. As you see, there's not a thing to be afraid of. All timid-looking souls, aren't they? Well, now it's our custom to let the panel have a closer look at you at this point. So any reasonable demands they make of you, will you please accede to them?
Yes, Mr.
All right, panel, he's all yours.
Oh, go ahead. Do you want to ask him something?
I just want to feel his muscles.
Oh, naturally. I'm next. Mr. McGowan, would you take this handkerchief and would you breathe deeply and see if you can tell me what it smells like to you? Be careful.
That's deep enough.
Lavender.
Smells like lavender? Not Esquire shoe polish. Well, he's no Sherlock Holmes because there's no lavender in it.
McGowan, will you put your hand over your tie? What kind of a tie have you on?
Red and gray.
A red one?
Yes, sir.
And gray?
Yes, sir.
Bought it yourself?
My wife bought it.
Your wife always select your ties?
Yes, sir.
Well, you're tied in more ways than one then, aren't you?
That's damaging enough.
sir.
Mr. McGowan, you come over here and sit down next to me. The panel has had enough of a close look at you, I think. And now, Mr. McGowan, what we do on the basis of your handwriting, what you've said, how you said it, and the close look the panel has had at you, we give them one wild, free, happy guess as to what your line may be. And we'll begin the wild guesses with Dr. Hoffman.
Well, from the way he recognized the scent, he's a detective.
He's a detective. Well, that's a very interesting answer. What about you, Miss Francis?
Well, a Scotch name like McGowan, maybe he invented Scotch tape. Is that
Well,
possible?
I don't think that's it. Mr. Untermeyer.
No, I think he is a geologist.
A geologist. Miss Kilgallen?
I think he's a salesman of some type. If he is not, as Dr. Hoffman says, a detective.
A
That's
salesman
my
of
first
perfume,
thought.
perhaps.
No.
No, well, all right, I'm
definitely not.
afraid that's all we can give you in the way of wild guesses. And now we're going to let our viewers at home have a really close look at Mr. McGowan. And at the same time, we'll tell them what his line is. Well, panel, you know the rules. You may, in turn, ask Mr. McGowan questions. They will be answered yes or no. Each no answer will cost the panel $5, which will go to Mr. McGowan, and we'll keep a record of that right here on these cards. 10 no's, and you've lost the game. Now, we'll give you one more bit of help. We'll tell you that Mr. McGowan is salaried. And we'll go from the particular to the general, with Miss Francis beginning the questions.
Mr. McGowan, do you work for a profit-making organization?
Yes.
You do? And do you sell services?
Yes.
You do? Do you do most of your work indoors, or do you go from door to door?
Indoors.
Indoors.
Yes, we'll ask questions that can be answered yes and no. Hey, Miss Francis, thank you very much.
Do you think we've got anything with him?
Yes, I think we've got him.
I heard no call for consultation. Continue, Miss
Inside.
Francis.
Do you work, would you say that the place of your business is a very large organization?
Yes.
It is. You're not sure how large it is, huh?
Well, I would say it's quite large.
And do you use your mind and your eye and your ear as opposed to your brawn?
I do, yes.
But don't be misled. His brawn may also be necessary to
Uh-huh.
the purveyance of his services. Would you like to pass, Miss Francis?
Yes, I do feel there's something about Scotland Yard. I think he's right, but I don't know just exactly.
All right, well,
what it
Miss
is.
Francis,
I
you
pass.
pass. We'll let Mr. Untermeyer take up the cudgels from here.
I would like to take up the cudgels from Miss Francis very
Anytime.
quickly. Anytime. Any gold cudgel that she likes to have lying around. I'd like to ask Mr. McGowan, do you also work with your muscles?
No.
You don't? You have no muscles?
Well, no, we won't take a no answer.
One or
Let's
two.
say it might be used at some time as he...
Well, can I
Sells
ask,
his
can I
services.
put it a
You
little
withdraw
bit
that
differently?
question and
I
ask it
withdraw
over again.
Am I the kind of a person you'd like to work on? Or with?
No.
This is tempting, Mr. Untermeyer, and he said no, so that's 1 down and 9 to go, and Miss Kilgallen's on the block.
May I ask Mr. McGowan, do you work on women? Well, you purvey services. Are your services purveyed to women as well as men?
Yes, both would say.
Well, then you, in a sense, you work on women. Whatever you sell, you...
In the nicest possible sense, I hope.
Do you wear any sort of distinguishing uniform when you
No,
are
I
working?
don't.
You wear just
That's
what
2
you're
down and 8 to go, and Dr. Hoffman, you have a chance.
Does your
Mr.
work
McGowan.
require a sort of special talent?
Yes, sir.
Takes a certain amount of training?
Yes, sir.
And is society benefited through your work?
Yes, yes.
Is your work in any way, has it anything to do with the idea of correction in a broad way?
You think so?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Yes.
Consultation, something with broad.
All right, you have 20 seconds for consultation.
You mean in a broad way, not on Broadway.
Not on, in. The preposition is the proposition.
Do you think, as I think by this time, that he has something to do with detective or...
Yes.
Truancy or
Police work
probation
or
or something of that kind. Is your job a civil
work
service
inside.
job?
No, sir.
That's 3 down and 7 to...
Your
It's
question.
not a civil service job.
No.
3 down and 7 to go, and Miss Francis, please, the consultation period is over. Miss
Are
Francis,
there
ask the
other
question.
people employed in your organization that do the same kind of work you do?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work, maybe it's a store, oh, pardon me. Do you work on several floors of an organization or just on one floor? Do you work on several floors of an organization?
Yes, I think that's a yes.
He gets up and down. He's not too sure what floor he's on right
No,
now.
that's right.
We floored him.
Oh, dear me, I ought to penalize you for
several
that.
floors. Could we have a consultation? Just 2 seconds, very fast.
10 seconds.
It's either in a store, some kind of a detective, or a hotel. You could be in.
I think it's a hotel dick.
All right, the consultation period is over. Miss Francis, continue with... Consultation period is over, Dr. Hoffman.
No,
Continue
all
with
right,
the questions,
consultation
Miss
period is over, and I am going to lean on Mr.
I
Untermeyer.
love
An older and wiser man.
Just over.
Inexperienced.
Can't you lean both
Are
ways?
you some kind of a detective? We have to nail down what it is.
Yes, yes, yes.
You are a detective.
Yes, that's right.
He works in a large building, either a store or a hotel.
The
or something
consultation
like that.
period is
Do
over,
there-
Miss Francis.
wait, all right. Where you work, do they have lots of rooms?
Why, certainly, yes.
What do you think? Are you willing to go, fellas?
The prison warden.
Are you a house dick, if you pardon the expression?
Congratulations to the panel. Mr. McGowan, you won $15 worth of prize money.
Said
Thanks
detective on
very
the
much.
first
You
guess.
are a house detective at the Commodore
Hotel
House.
Commodore.
Well, congratulations.
You are special located over there.
Thanks for being our guest on What's My Name. Well, congratulations, panel. You beat all around the bush, but you finally came up with the proper... Next challenger, will you sign in, please? Linda. Linda Stone. That writing's a little small, but it's very effective. And now, Miss Stone, tell us first of all where you live.
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx. Well, there's the panel. You have 2 members of your own sex on it. Not a thing to worry about. But we let the panel have a closer look at you now. Any reasonable demands they make while you accede to them, and then we'll take up from there. Go ahead, panel. She's all yours.
Miss Stone, do you like to dance?
Love
Socially,
it.
I mean.
Love it.
Would you give me a demonstration of how you would do the samba, for instance?
Oh, the samba, that's not one of my...
What do you
best.
like?
The rumba.
Well, do a rumba for us, just to see.
Ho, 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 ho. Stay still, both of you. Mr. Untermeyer, you're your friend.
I hope so. Miss Stone...
Don't rumble the wrong way.
Would you like to rumba with her?
She was taking a rumba from 1 to 10. Miss Stone, when you carry money, I presume you sometimes do carry money, what is the average amount of loose change you carry in your handbag? Think. You know what money is, that small stuff,
Yes, I know what money is.
little thing here.
Maybe she only
you
knows
carry a
about
lot of
folding
money.
money.
Well,
Yes,
at
no
times.
change.
At times.
I think you've got all the
I
information
guess
you've got a
I'm
right
right.
to. All right, Miss Stone. Is it Mrs. Stone, isn't it? Will you come back here and sit down beside me? Well, now, on the basis of your handwriting, what you've said, how you said it, and this close look they've had at you, we let the panel have a free guess. There are only 5 there. You'd think Joe Cook was also at the table, but he isn't. And we'll begin the free guesses once again with Dr. Hoffman.
I'm speechless.
You're speechless.
That's a break.
Then Miss
I'd
Francis.
say she's a fortune teller.
A fortune teller. Miss Francis?
A dancing teacher.
Mr. Untermeyer?
She teaches at the Copacabana.
Miss Kilgallen?
I think that she's a straight woman in a burlesque house in West New York, New Jersey.
You can sue Miss Kilgallen tomorrow because you're all wrong. And now let's let our viewers at home have a really close look at Mrs. Stone. A very pleasant occupation, that I might add.
Yes.
And at the same time, we'll tell our viewers what her line is. All right, panel, you know now what the rules of the game are. You can ask questions in turn until you get the answer no. Each no means a penalty of $5 against the panel, and it goes to our challenger. 10 no's and you've lost the game. I will give you one bit of help. Mrs. Stone is self-employed, and we'll begin the general questions this time with Mr. Untermeyer.
Self-employed, Mrs. Stone. Is most of your work indoors rather than outdoors?
Yes.
I presume you go out for a breath of air once in a
Oh,
while.
surely.
It is indoors. Do you work, on the whole, with small-time bosses or big-time bosses?
Well, that's...
Do you work in an organization where you are responsible to many people?
Well, now, wait, we've
She's
already said
self-employed.
that Mrs. Stone was self-employed. Would you like to rephrase that
But she
question?
works indoors. All right. Do you work at things rather than? Do you work at things which give value to people?
No. 1 down and 9 to go. Miss Kilgallen, you better take over.
Mrs. Stone, do you need a certain amount of training for your job? Did you go through a period of training for your job?
Well, I guess some people can, but...
Yes. I think the answer
you're-
to that question is yes, but don't be misled by it.
You
Came to her naturally.
I gathered that her talent came more or less naturally. Are you able to handle many customers?
She's kept busy.
I don't know how to...
Well, that's a very difficult question. I would say yes, but again, don't
Well-
let the answer mislead you. It is possible that in her capacity, she would have to handle many customers.
Now, what you sell is services rather than a product.
Yes. Yes, I do.
And people come to you to receive these services.
No.
That's, I think, basically no. That's 2 down and 8 to go. Dr. Hoffman, let's see what you can do.
Well, if people don't come to you, do you go to people to give them services?
No.
That's very... Would you withdraw the question?
Yes, I'll withdraw that. Are you kept pretty busy?
Yes.
And do people depend upon your advice?
Yes.
And as the result of your advice, are they made happier?
Yes.
Are they made prettier?
Sometimes.
More
yes.
comfortable?
Yes.
Do you cater to the person, or do you cater to the person or to the garments? Well, let me see. Do you cater to the person?
Yes.
Do you use your hands in your work?
Yes.
Do you cater more to women than to men? Or equally?
No.
No, I think no is the proper answer there. That's 3 down and 7 to go. Mrs. Stone has won $15 already. Congratulations. She seems to be all things to all men and women. Miss Francis.
Do you work mostly, do you work days?
Yes. Yes.
Will you imply by that that maybe do you work nights?
Sometimes.
You'll never sleep.
That's a very important bit of information that you've just won yourself,
She
Miss
works
Francis.
both days and nights. Do you, was it answered that you do have a kind of training in your job? You don't have to. May I say, do you take care of the younger generation as a rule?
Sometimes.
Oh, we'll lose a no now. Are you a babysitter?
No, that's 4 down. It's a very interesting answer. That's 4 down and 6 to go. Mr. Untermeyer, would you like a consultation?
I would like a consultation.
All right, you can have
$20.
20 seconds for a consultation.
With your consent, can I go ahead on the domestic line?
Yes.
I think we have a lead.
Yes.
All right.
If you feel it, go ahead.
I have a feeling for domesticity. Great feeling for it. Tell me, Mrs. Stone, do you do most of your work standing up?
Not as domestic as you thought.
Do you do much of your work standing up?
That's better. Rephrase
Keep
it.
it on
Does your work bring about tangible results?
Well, yes.
It does. It has to do with men and women and possibly children.
Yes.
You work in a house, mostly, rather than in an office.
Yes.
You work in your house. Are you a housewife?
Yes, she is, and congratulations. Well, I must say, Mrs. Stone, you gave him a merry face for a while, and you won yourself $20
stick to
prize money, and
domesticity.
thanks for being our guest on What. Mr. X, will you come in and sign in, please?
Somebody knows it.
Mr. X, there it is. Well, Mr. X, thanks very much for coming to see us. And as you know, you're a special guest, and you will get $50 in prize money for your favorite charity if you'll just let us know who it is that you want us to send the money to. Now, we'll dispense with all the usual formalities. Panel, you'll go to the general questioning immediately, see if you can find out who our mystery celebrity is. Miss Francis, suppose you begin.
Mr. Celebrity, are you in the entertainment business?
I'm afraid so.
How afraid are you?
Kind
Are you part of the acting profession? Would you
No.
consider yourself an actor?
No, I would say no is a proper answer for that. That's 1 down and 9 to go. Mr. Untermeyer, you're on the block.
You are in the entertainment field. Are you in anything connected with music?
Yes.
You are. Are you connected with the rendition of music?
Yes.
Yes. You mean you don't render it very well?
That's a presumption, Mr.
All right.
Untermeyer.
You use an instrument not in your own throat. That is an instrument that you scrape or blow through.
Yes.
You do. Do you scrape?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go. Miss Kilgallen, you've got a lot of valuable information to go to work on.
I have something more valuable than that. That voice is very familiar to me.
I was afraid of that.
You mean I should know you? Mr. X?
Your business, you certainly should.
May I ask you to say Mary had a little lamb?
Mary had a widow wham.
Near after
May I assume that you are not a long-haired musician?
You may assume.
But have you ever played at Carnegie Hall?
Yes, I have.
Oh. Are you dark?
Kinda.
Unhandsome?
Kinda.
Let me see. You need a special kind of training for your job, don't you?
Kinda again.
Have you ever been married?
You hit jackpot, Miss Kilgallen. I think you're driving to a finish.
May I say, does a certain song mean anything to you that deals with a certain tempo, like a begin?
Yes, it does.
Is your first name Artie?
Artie Shore, and congratulations to Miss Kilgallen, and thanks very much for being our guest, Artie. We will send a check to your favorite home. And thanks very much indeed. Well, now we're ready for our next challenger, and will you sign in, please, sir? This time it's a gentleman, and you've got your blindfolds off, panel. Mr. William Ullman. Fine. Well, thanks, Mr. Ullman. Will you come up here with me for just a minute? Tell us, first of all, where you live, will you?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn? That's in New York.
New York,
isn't it?
yeah.
Pardon me very much. Well, there are not many people here from Brooklyn tonight. That usually brings the house down. Well, now, here's our panel. As you probably heard, we let them get a closer look at you now. So any reasonable demands they make of you, why you accede to them, and I'll see you a little later. All yours,
This is
panel.
probably sheer ignorance, but what's that little gadget in your lapel?
Well, it's just a little...
It's a lodge
something.
emblem?
That's right.
It's not a military decoration.
No, ma'am.
Mr. Ullman, merely as a test, can you repeat for me the words following these words? The words are to be or not to be. What comes after?
Or not to be? No, I don't know.
To be or not to be. All
You have the
right.
right gesture for it.
Yes.
Well, he's not a Shakespearean actor.
All right, I will ask you another question then. Can you give me a fairly satisfactory rhyme for the word June?
Moon.
Very good.
That's very good. Mr. Ullman, they've had enough. You come over here, Mr. Ullman, and sit down next to me, if you
Arlene?
will, please.
No,
I
I'm
think
not
you've
gonna ask
suffered
him a
enough
thing.
under the slings and arrows of Mr. Untermeyer's outrageous fortune. Sit in close here, and now, as you probably know, on the basis of your handwriting, what you've said, how you said it, we give the panel one free, wild, and happy guess as to what your line may be. All right, we'll begin the free guesses with Dr. Hoffman,
I believe that Mr. Ullman's a mechanic of some kind.
a mechanic of some kind. Miss Francis,
An upholsterer.
an upholsterer. Mr. Untermeyer,
He's an inexpert accountant.
an inexpert accountant. Miss Kilgallen,
I think he's a plumber.
you think he's a plumber. Well, I'm afraid you're all wrong. And now let's let our viewers at home get a really close look at Mr. Ullman, and at the same time, we'll tell them what his line is.
Is that so funny?
All right, panel, you know what the rules are. You can ask questions in turn. They'll be answered yes or no. Each no answer will cost the panel $5, which will go to our challenger, Mr. Ullman. 10 no's, and you've lost the game. We'll give you one bit of help now, and that is to tell you that Mr. Ullman is salaried. And we'll begin the general questioning with Miss Kilgallen.
Do you work for a profit-making organization?
Definitely.
You consider yourself in business?
No, I'm not in business.
Well,
I'm employed.
Yes, we
Employed.
know that you're salaried, so I think Miss Kilgallen wanted to find out whether you were in the business world. The answer to that is yes.
I mean, his firm is a business
That's
firm.
right.
Is
That's
that
right,
it?
yes.
Do you work with your hands?
Yes.
Do you go to work from your home? You go to a place of business
Well,
rather
at
than working at
times,
home?
times.
You mean that sometimes you can work at home?
No, I can't work at
No,
home.
the
I
answer
think
is
I've been
yes.
misled.
He does go to a place of business, but I think what he's trying to tell you is that you must not be misled to think that he's necessarily nailed down when he gets there. Go ahead, Miss
see.
Kilgallen.
After you get your place of business, do you peregrinate?
Well, that's very good. I don't think we ought to bring
She
that sort
means
of thing
walk
up on this
around.
program, so we'll drop that question. Would you like to rephrase it?
Well, do you move around rather than sit at a desk?
Yes.
Move around. Do you move around looking at things?
Everyone looks at something. I mean, after all.
I think the
Well,
answer to
all
that
good
can be
like
yes,
that.
Miss Kilgallen, but don't let it mislead
I don't know
you.
why I asked it, but it's got a reaction. Do
Trying to make him
uh,
out a peeping Tom.
Miss Francis, I haven't heard any request for
Do you
observation.
inspect things?
Yes, I inspect them.
And then after you inspect them, do you do something to them?
Sometimes.
If it's necessary, you do what's necessary?
Yes.
I pass. I have no idea where I'm going.
All right, Miss Kilgallen passes. I must say that you went all around the labyrinthine way, though. Now, Dr. Hoffman, let's see what you
Well,
can do. We've got
I'd
about
like to
3.5
know-
minutes to go.
Did you laugh, too, when you got your job?
No.
You did not laugh. Serious job.
Well, yes, it could be
The place you work, has it a bad odor? You don't work in a smelly place. I'm no.
No.
That's one down, and I was just fascinated by the line of questioning. Go ahead, Miss Francis.
You deal in services, I take it.
That's right.
Do you go to different places all the time? Or do you go, as opposed to going to just one place to
You go
perform your
several
job?
places, Several places.
You go several different places. Do you work on something large in a mechanical way?
No, I would say no is a proper answer to that, and Mr. Ullman has got $10 in prize money. It's 2 down and 8 to go, and Mr. Untermeyer,
Never-
you're on the block.
Have I time for a quick consultation?
I'll give you 20 seconds for
All right.
consultation.
I think, again, we're working wrong. I'm going to, again, my instinct for domesticity is going to lead me a little closer to what I think may be true of him.
What?
That he works mostly in homes. rather than sort of scattered? Do you work mostly in homes as opposed to offices, let us say?
Well, no, not
Well,
really.
I think in the broad concept of your line, we'll have to say that yes is a reasonable answer to that question and let it go.
Does your work make it better for people? Whatever your work is it better for people?
Yes.
Do you work with things as opposed to people? And I mean opposed to people.
Yes, I think the answer to that
In
is
other
yes,
words-
don't you, Mr. Ullman? He works with things in the doing of it. We've got about a minute and
All
15
right.
seconds.
Are these living things?
That's a very difficult question to answer. I would say yes and no.
Are they living things before he starts to work on them?
Would you answer that one?
Does he?
Yes.
Does he help exterminate these living things?
Yes, I would say he does.
He's an exterminator.
You say what?
He is an exterminator.
Very good, Mr. Untermeyer. He did. Now, let's see here. Mr. Ullman, you gave the panel a pretty rough time, even though you only won $10 in prize money. It's nice of you to come and visit us on What's My Line, and congratulations, and thank you for coming to see. Ladies and gentlemen, our time is up for this evening, so until 2 weeks from tonight, when once again we'll try to see how good we are at spotting the occupations of new challengers, this is John Daly saying good night, Dr. Hoffman.
Good night, Arlene.
Good night, Louis.
Good night, Dorothy Kilgallen.
And good night, John Daly.
And good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line.